3:30, a very unusual time to start the show, but a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to Inside the Courtroom. I'm Linda Mnisi on this beautiful Women's Day afternoon. We've got a number of court cases lined up for you. You'd recall this past week, Cat Matlala back in court for that trial within a trial. Julius Mkhwanazi making his fourth court appearance. We'll be talking about that, but also in the Pretoria High Court, our main case, the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial, the alleged gunman, Mthobisi Mncube, of course, still on the stand. So it's on that note that we're going to start. And this week's poll question, we want to know whether you think that his alibi is strong enough. Those questions, or rather options, are on your screen right now. Yes, it's credible. The second one being the gun throws it out, and the third one being you're waiting for cross-examination so that you can, of course, make up your mind. Scan the QR code that is on your screen right now and start voting. But also remember to send us those WhatsApp messages to, of course, contribute to the conversation that we're having on the program. Also, a reminder that this poll question is a discussion that you and I are having and does not necessarily reflect the position of the court, because the matter is still ongoing. So let's get the show on the road.
Matter is postponed till the 13th of August 2026.
The application for a postponement of these proceedings, day of August 2026 at 09:30 or soon thereafter, as the matter shall be heard.
All right, we start here this afternoon with the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. Mthobisi Mncube, the alleged gunman in that particular case, kicking off the week, dealing with the identity of the intruders. More so, the reason why an identity parade was not held in respect of the accused before court. Now, Mncube told the court that in June 2020, the lead investigator, Brigadier Bongani Gininda, came to see him in prison and told him that he had reasons to believe that he was involved in the murder of Senzo Meyiwa. It was only on the 26th of October when one of the other investigators, that's Sergeant Batumohola, came to inform him that he would be making his first court appearance the next day. Now, he said between these two dates, there was no encounter with the Meyiwa investigators.
What would your reaction be to the fact that Brigadier Gininda approaches you and says, you are a suspect in this case on 30 June 2020, but throughout the period of 3 months and 27 days before your face got international publicity, it doesn't take you for an identification parade?
Gininda would not have been in a position or able to take me to an identity parade, yebo.
Ngoba naye wabona vele mayifika ukuthi lento le ekhulunywa abantu basendlini nesetatementini akusiyiyo la ibonayo kimi.
Because upon his arrival he could see that which was said by the people that were in the house and that was also contained in the statements, it's not what he's seeing in me.
Abantu basendlini bakhuluma ngomuntu omnyama yena wafica umuntu omhlophe ejele.
The people in the house referred to a black person or a dark person. When he got to jail or to the prison, he then found someone who was white or light in complexion. The people in the house referred to someone with a gold tooth, and when he got to prison, he found a person without a gold tooth. The people in the house referred to someone with cheekbones. Upon his arrival in prison, he did not find someone with cheekbones. The people in the house referred to someone with big eyes that were protruding to the outside. And when he got to prison, he did not find someone with those features.
So na wayibona vele yonke lento ukuthi ayilanga ngizengikwazi ukwenza ikhomba barreto bavele lento ehlangana kusiyi.
So upon his arrival there, he then realized that I won't be able to take this person to an ID parade because what are these? What I'm seeing, it is not. These two do not match.
All right, let me bring in my guests in studio. I've got a full studio. Bongani Masuku, a very good friend of the show, is back today, and he's telling us that he has evidence that he's going to cook all of us with. He is a commentator as well as Itumukwena and Mabelane. So, in case you don't know these people that are in studio with me, Bongani Masuku believes that the accused that are before court are not the right accused persons, while Itu as well as Mabelane believe that these are the right men. But of course, we wouldn't have a full show if we did not have a legal analyst. Sibongiseni Gunene is also joining us via our video link. So we'll get straight into it. I'll start here in studio with you, Bongani, in fact. One of the intricate things that was dealt with, right, was the issue around tower evidence, right? And specifically, when it comes to what seemingly is in contention here, is the 2 to 3 o'clock hour, right? It's one of the first things that I want us to deal with because it's at that time that Constable Sizwe Zungu said he arrived at the hostel, and we know that at 20 to 2, Mthobisi Mncube's phone pings at a tower that is at the hostel. In your view, what does that mean?
He has already said, when Mnisi, he said that I was there, yes, but there was a time where I was just passing by, you understand? Because he gives a history that he went to Katlehong, Mazibuko Hostel, you understand? And then he tells you, this is what I did when I was here. And we know for a fact that Senzo Meyiwa was killed at time 8. You understand?
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Let's
so
deal with the hostel.
That he does tell you that I was passing by. And that's the main point here, that I was passing by, and then he shows you the map to say, look at me traveling, passing by Fosloras. Obviously, we took pictures, we did this, but we were passing by.
Okay, let me come to you, Itu. Passing by, but the number of hours, obviously, that the phone stays pinging in the Fosloras Tower.
I'm back, Manokochaye. I'm back, Kupuska Peinelwa. Passing by for how many hours? Yes, I understand the first time when it pinged Fosloras, he might have been passing by because after that it pings in Spruit or Katlehong. And then after that he goes back to Fosloras and he stays at Fosloras for hours. So that cannot be passing by. And I did not hear him explain what he was doing in Fosloras or who he was with in Fosloras, but he just mentioned the fact that he was in a hostel in Spruit. But now the evidence says that, no, even in Fosloras, you stayed there for quite a bit. And we didn't hear the explanation from him or from Mnisi. So I wonder how Mnisi is actually going to argue this one, because we didn't hear a version from him. We didn't hear anything from accused number 3 in terms of explaining what he was doing in Fosloras for so long, connecting to the one tower that Pinky said that is the hostel tower.
Mabelane, let me come to you, because what Zungu says is that, in fact, what Mncube says is that the whole description around, the fun that was had at the hostel, the drinking of the alcohol, is basically a fabrication. He is lying. Talk to us about what you make, because it's such a critical point, because according to the state, this is where the murder was planned.
Yeah, the descriptions were very clear, and descriptions are exactly that. It's an identikit that wants to eliminate a one from million people across our population. So the description is clear. It says the dreadlocks, big eyes, short, and it also talks about the brown, shiny brown, and others say dark. But when you look at it, it describes him. He's the shortest guy amongst the people there in court. And he's the guy who was putting on a beige or brown jacket as it was seen on his picture. And it describes him, whether he likes it or not. That is the description that the court is also having an opportunity to look at when they consider the pictures. And on the tower, it is very much clear. Mncube said he was in Lesedi with Ncamuza Gumede and Makekentlela and others. But when that proposition was put to Pinky from Vodacom, Pinky said no, he couldn't have been in Lesedi because he connected to a tower which is within the First Loras hostel. So Pinky's evidence is clear. Nule was around the vicinity of the hostel, and Pinky took it further and said, if he was in Lesedi, he should have at least connected to a tower in Lesedi at least once, or any other nearest tower, but he never connected to that. So to say he was passing from 2 o'clock to 3:30, where are you passing from and where are you going in one point at that particular in time?
Yeah, I want us to bring in Sibongiseni Gunene here, because Sibongiseni, this is, like I say, quite a very critical element of this case. And I wonder if Mthobisi Mncube and his explanation suffices, right? Given, of course, the fact that there seems to be a link between what Constable Sizwe Zungu is saying and Mthobisi Mncube's phone, right? He was in Vosloorus. The phone says it's pinging at a tower in Vosloorus.
Yes, good afternoon, Linda, as well as the guests and the viewers at home. Well, insofar as collaboration is concerned to the evidence of Zungu, we remember that Zungu, when he testified in court, he said he arrived at Basotwini at or about 2 o'clock or in between 2 o'clock and 3 p.m., right?
Yeah.
Then you have transactions of Mncube, which then indicates that he was within the place where Zungu alleges that he was, being that of Basotwini hostel. And when in fact, I will also agree with Mabelane when he speaks about the issue of the version which was put when Mncube tried to distance himself from the place where Zungu was. He put a version that even though that he happens to be at or near Vosloorus, but he was at a specific place, a shopping center, being that of Lesedi. Unfortunately, then Pinky Vichilingham refuted that on the basis of the distance of the towers, and he said, if then you are in Lesedi, he has to ping in at Lesedi Tower or either Vosloorus West, if I'm not mistaken. And the tower which then has this transaction which correlates with the time when Zungu arrived at Basotwini Hostel, or when he was at Basotwini Hostel by then, is the one wherein we look at the distance between Basotwini Hostel and it is that of 600 meters, if I'm not mistaken. That is how it was put by Pinky Vichilingham, because at some point the defense requested him to come with those geographical issues which will indicate the distance between the towers as well as the places. So for collaboration, then now, an inference which you can draw with that, it could be correct that Zungu says he was with you because here is scientific evidence that says you are within the place where Zungu alleges that he was. And when you wanted to distance yourself, then it didn't help you because that tower cannot link with the place where you allege that you were at.
Does it help that he accepts this evidence as true and correct, given the fact that he says what you see on this 205 is exactly how it happened?
Unfortunately, then, when he was dealing with this evidence, I think there was an element of maybe he was overexcited about the fact that at some point the cell phone happens to ping in Johannesburg. And then now, he has accepted this evidence as being true reflection on the day in question. Then he does not understand the consequences because now there is no one who's going to dispute the tower, which then pings him to be at or near Vosloorus. Then that will cost him insofar as inferential reasoning in terms of Zungu's evidence. Because Zungu is also collaborated by another piece of evidence, being that of Exhibit HH. Then the story which he wants to rely on of Johannesburg, that one is problematic because it's only his word, right? At the moment, let me just say so, at the moment, it's only his word which says then, because I was pinging in Johannesburg and then after I fell asleep until the morning. Unfortunately, then for a space of 14 or whatever, 14 hours, you can mention, there is absolutely no activity that is happening on his phone. And then while the state, they were intelligent when they were leading this evidence, they didn't lead only this day. They show how then this gentleman behave insofar as the cell phone or usage of data. That why on this day is very strange that you couldn't even use your data for a couple of hours. So the argument will be that of the reason why there was absolutely no movement here in your cell phone at or after or during the incident where Senzo Meyiwa was killed, then you were not in possession of the phone. As opposed to other days wherein you are in possession of your phone, this is what happens in your phone. And it will be supported with other evidence.
Yeah, let me come back.
I think that is how they are going to argue it.
Yeah, let me come back to studio because Mabelane earlier touched on quite an important aspect, right? The issue of the description, and we know that it deals with the ID parade and why an ID parade was not held. So when you think about the issue of the ID parade, given the fact that he says, well, my description does not match what people in the house, said it was. Looking at what Gininda also said, what are your thoughts on that, Mongane?
I think that was very simple. And I'm like, I want to put it to you, Mabelan, and put it to you, my Leonard colleague, my Leonard friend there. Guys, You will remember that it was said, it's there, that number one, they were looking for a guy who does not match the color of my skin tone. That was there on record. Nobody disputed that. And then let's come back to the issue of ID parade. Well, the reason, even Mnisi touched on that to say, the reason there was no ID parade, it's because they know what happened. Mbata, what, and the inconsistency in terms of the people who were in the house in what they described, right? We knew, or in fact, we know. No, you know that I know. And you, Mnisi, you know that I know, right? That the problem is, people who were in that house, what they are describing is not what Gininda is describing. For instance, people who were in that house said they saw a gun with a wheel. Look, Brigadier Gininda is coming up with another gun which does not have a wheel. So you could tell that so far as this ID parade, there was also a possibility that we were going to get so much contradicting version. But if you go back to what was said about the people who were in the house, you know that there was going to be a blunder. I want to pass there. Okay.
Yeah. Just a moment on that particular aspect, because when I recall well, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, Brigadier Gininda, what he said was that two of the occupants, and that's Tumelo and Mthobisi, said, well, they wouldn't remember, it would be a 50-50. He said he did not approach Makumalo as well as Longwetola because they had already pointed out the wrong person, right? And with Zandi Khumalo, if my memory serves me well, just remind me. There was an aspect about Zandi Khumalo about why Zandi, in fact, was not approached, and ultimately he said you could tell that she might have not known anything about what had happened. With Kelly Khumalo in particular, he said that already she had been identified as the trigger point. So in light of those, responses from Gininda, do you still feel that they knew that the identities were not spot on?
You said it. I wouldn't have said it better than you. There's already conflict in the house in that some of you pointed at Mbata. And you know what resulted in. There's a lawsuit right now. They are waiting for this case to come to an end so that Mbata can be reached. As a result of what? Someone. So it is clear people were avoiding that. But I also want to pass through, my friend. You, my friend, you are wrong. Amnesia again. I've won. That's why I said I want to come to studio today. Because amnesia is kicking in on my friend. The description of what the people in the house described, you know that I know, that you know, that that description does not fit the guy who accused number 3.
All right, I want us to take a quick ad break because when we come back, we'll get more into the conversation around the cell phone tower evidence, as well as what will be Mthobisi Mncube's alibi, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back and thank you for choosing to stay with us. If you've just joined us, you're watching Inside the Courtroom and I'm Mnisi. We're reflecting on the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. Mthobisi Mncube, the alleged gunman, continuing to deal with cell phone tower evidence building up to the critical hour. Now, according to his records, his phone left the phosphorus at the 5 o'clock hour destined for Johannesburg CBD. Now, it's the state's case that Meyiwa was killed between 8:30 and 9 o'clock that evening. Mncube's phone pings at a tower in Joburg just after 8:30. Take a look.
The last activity that was recorded in your phone on that day, it's an activity that was recorded at 20:32:57. Which was also an attempt by somebody to send you an SMS. It did not go through because there's no call duration, there are no particulars of who was trying to send you, but that happened at 20:32:57. And the tower that pinged that attempt by that somebody to send you an SMS was 2G House Street, SGS2. Now, the next activity that was recorded in your gadget happens on the 27th of October 2014 at 080817, which was a call that you received from that number that ends with 0728, which lasted for 66 seconds. And the tower that pinged that call was the 2G Moy Street SGS1. The last activity on that page that I would think will conclude on it, it's an activity that still happened on the 27th of October 2014 at 082359, which was also a call that you received from that number that ends with 5095, that lasted for 125 seconds, and it was pinged still by that tower recorded as 2G Moy Street SGS1.
All right, he then dealt with the testimony of Zandi Khumalo.
Now, against the background that Ms. Khumalo said that this incident happened between 7, but definitely between 7 and 8. What is then your comment, if you've got any?
When the incident happened, as Zandile indicated, Zandile saw the people that arrived at her parental home, and I'm not one of them, because the person that went in remained there. This is the same as a person coming in there and then this person gets shot and then the person dies here, because that head contains that person's entire DNA. Now that person who was wearing the head is the very same person that was seen by Zandi and the others between 7:30 before 8. Now, this one from the Ncube clan was here, the witness indicating on the section 204, during the times that are indicated here, where he is residing. So I have nothing to do with the death of Senzo Meyiwa. I know nothing about the Khumalo household. Even Zandi herself, I saw her for the first time here in this court. Even the people who are alleged to have been with me or in my company, some of them, I saw them for the very first time in court in Boksburg. So I'm not involved. I know nothing about the death of Senzo Meyiwa.
All right, let's continue the conversation with my guests in studio, Mabelane Itumukwena, as well as Bongani Masuku are joining me in studio. Mabelane, let me start with you. 8:30, just after 8:30, Mthobisi Mncube's phone pings at a tower in Joburg CBD. He says, I was at home and therefore I couldn't have been at the Khumalo home at the time Senzo Meyiwa was killed. Is it a strong enough alibi?
No, it's not strong as yet until, like my brother, Mr. Kunene said, until he brings someone to support that or to corroborate that, because his phone, there is no doubt, it pinged there in Court Street and Moi around that time. But the people inside the house, they describe somebody with similar features that he is having. Zungu doesn't describe somebody, says, I have seen this guy after 9 o'clock. I've seen him, I was there with him. The last time I saw him was during the day. Now, they are putting him in false arrest, and he is placing himself with the cell phone, which remained dormant during the night. So he will have to maneuver or get something to substantiate that. And on the last point, Linda, maybe I must touch on that. When Quininda approached those who were inside the house and then they said they have got 50-50 chances, this version that Mncube is putting now was not put to Quininda to say the reason you didn't do the parade is because you knew they are going to point at the wrong person. This is the version that only comes now, and it's second-guessing why Quininda took that decision. I will do the same, Linda, because what do you expect? What were the main features that described Mncube in 2014? Is that not the dreadlocks? Did he have the dreadlocks at that point in time when he was arrested? No. Now the people are saying there's a 50-50 chances of identifying this person. But the main feature is not there. Why will you do the parade?
Let me come to you, Idu, with regards to this alibi, because obviously it's a big talking point, right? And when we look at the evidence of Pinky Vaithelingam, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, there was a point where, at the time, it was Advocate Sibanda who was giving estimates as to, you know, the period, the time to get to phosphorus between...
All of them suffering from amnesia. Now, one, it's funny that the state believes in Ms. Piloko Vaithelingam. And they said, yeah, the cell phone expert from Vodacom said this. Now, 2 minutes down the line, U-turn. Hi, this is not enough. 5 minutes ago it was enough. I allowed you guys to come closer because I knew that there were this. Once, if you believe the cell phone evidence, you must believe it in its totality. But it gets funnier. I'll tell you what, there's a case law, I forgot it at home. It says, where there is a doubt, that doubt should then favor the accused. So the fact that they agree that, nah, but it's not enough, the fact that there's that doubt, I'll bring it. If I come back, I'll bring that case law. But I'm going to read another one, which says it's S versus Blom. It says that, where am I? It says that the inference sought to be drawn must be consistent with all the proven fact. The proven fact should be such that they exclude every reasonable inference from the saved on the one sought to be drawn. If they do not exclude the other reasonable inference, then there must be doubt whether the inference sought to be drawn is correct. This is I'm bringing another angle to say, the fact that today you and I sitting here, we are saying, but that's not enough. We saw with the Timothy Omotoso versus State, you know that the judge, and that is a classic one, it's the latest one, the judge said, the state did not prove its case beyond reasonable doubt, and then the judge turned into Timothy Omotoso and said, you, Timothy Omotoso, neither am I convinced that you are innocent.
So
but
are you not convinced that Mncube is innocent?
I'm going there. That's why I'm saying I'm here to cook them, and allow me to cook them and finish them. The moment they say there is a doubt, this is not enough, that benefits the accused. That's the point I'm driving home.
All right, let's go to Sibongiseni Gunene quickly. Sibongiseni, I mean, you've heard the arguments in studio, and these are people that follow the case religiously on what they make of that particular piece of evidence. And I wonder then the impact that it would have on Mapisa, as well as Fiso Guhlentuli, because they say that they were with Mthobisi Mncube at all material times. And ultimately in the evening, around that time, they too would have been at home.
Well, Linda, I have had the guests on the studio. Well, what is interesting is that when in fact, it's just to refer to Bongani. Bongani speaks about the evidence of Pinky being taken holistically. But what is very interesting is that maybe he does not consider exactly what evidence is being referred to when then we are comparing it with that one of Zoom. When accused number 3 alleges that he was at Lesedi while the cell phone belonging to him, and then pings a tower which is in Boslo. You also has to focus on the transaction which were performed at that particular time. That is going to make you reason otherwise. In this matter, insofar as Phosphorus is concerned, there are transactions which are associated about the said accused making a call or receiving a call from another person, as opposed to what happened at the time when the said cell phone, the last transaction being that which is in proximity to 8, which happened at the time when he was in Johannesburg. That was an SMS coming from another person, not initiated by him, right? And it is logical in a point of view that a human being can be separated from a cell phone. And a cell phone, which you left it, whether maybe in your friend's house or whatever, it can still receive an SMS. Then it is going to ping in whatsoever tower that is there. So when you look at this evidence holistically, as he says, you also consider those factors which are playing a role in your reasoning, right? So then you can then say there is a doubt that has been casted by the fact that somebody's cell phone received an SMS. I don't think that is a doubt. Well, maybe you can say this is just a piece of evidence that is building towards his alibi. The look of thing when he's testifying so far, he looks like he wants to use accused number 5 as somebody who can confirm about his whereabouts at the later. Because yes, we heard now that him and accused number 5 were staying on the same building or maybe in different rooms. So possibly accused number 5 could be the one that is going to confirm that yes, indeed I was with him there, other than having another independent person who then can come and testify to that effect by the look of things.
All right, I want us to take a quick ad break, and when we come back, we'll get into the evidence around the linkages, right, between Kelly Khumalo and the alleged gunman, because he says all of it is fabricated, so stay tuned. Welcome back. Let's check in with our poll question today. We're asking you whether you think the alibi of accused number 3, that's Mthobisi Mncube, is strong enough. Those options are on your screen. The first one, yes, it's credible. 11% of you saying that, as well as 73% of you saying, well, gun throws it out, and 16% saying cross-examination is still on the way and you are awaiting that. So the show is still on. You can scan the QR code on your screen and start, of course, voting. You can also send us a WhatsApp message on our WhatsApp line, and we'll make sure to read those messages coming through from you. So make sure that you engage with us throughout the program. Now we continue here. You'd recall that one of the links that lead investigator Brigadier Bongani Gninda drew with the alleged gunman was that of a see-through plastic bag containing cash notes, which was found in Ncube's phone, as well as phones of Kelly Khumalo and Longwe Twala. Mthobisi Mncube saying that, in fact, that is a fabricated link.
Then Brigadier Gninda tells this court that by virtue of the fact that that photo was found in your cell phone and in the phone of Kelly Khumalo, then that made Miss Kelly Khumalo a person of interest in this case. Do you follow?
Yes, I do follow.
In other words, his conclusion that Kelly Khumalo Miss Kelly Khumalo is also a prime suspect in this case. It is because this, or amongst others, it's because of the fact that this photo was found in your cell phone and it was also found in her cell phone.
Yes, I hear.
He also says, although this phone was found in Longwe Twala's phone, but Longwe Twala is not considered as a person of interest, is not a suspect. That's what Brigadier Gninda said. Do you have any comments?
Firstly, in August, I was in prison. This photo is written, Igugu Lomhlaba, the pride of the world, 2014-08-16. This is a photo from the social media. As well as the top photos as well that also have money that can reach up to this height. Now, this is not something that you can say connects me, Kelly Twala, and Longwe Twala.
All right, let's continue the conversation with my guests in studio as well as on our video link. Let me start here in studio. I'll start with you, Itu, around this particular subject. But first, in fact, quite interesting to observe the votes on our poll question and how about 73% so far saying that the gun throws it out, the alibi. We're talking about how strong the alibi is, and some people feel, well, in light of the gun, two things can't be true at the same time.
It cannot be true. Those were admissions that were made by accused number 3 through his attorney, Mnisi, saying that the gun that the police have linked to killing Senzo belongs to accused number 3. And accused number 3 says, you cannot charge me for the same gun twice. So I'm admitting this is my gun. Okay, so already there we have a huge issue, right? We're waiting for Dave, or I'm waiting for Dave. I don't know if we are going to rely on Dave because his report has not been mentioned anyway in Mnisi's cross-examination. Evidence in chief. I'm not sure if it's a cross-examination or evidence in chief, whatever it is, because Mr. Mnisi seems to be the one that's making most of the points here and putting versions, and I'm not sure how he's actually going to argue this. But in terms of that gun has already been linked as the gun that killed Senzo, and you have admitted that is your gun, and you still have not addressed this. It has not come up at all. Instead, we have been focused on a revolver. And Danzi says in his confession, I also had a small gun, Mr. Amnesia, with all your papers over here, and you still don't remember that. Ntansi says that I also had a small anyana gun, that the people in the house could have said, yeah, well, there was a gun, but they didn't say that gun killed Senzo. They did not say that. But ballistic evidence says the gun that killed Senzo is the gun that accused number 3 says, it is my gun.
And Bongani, one of the things that, in fact, Chris Mangena said, the ballistic expert for the state, said just because there was a revolver or somebody saw a revolver, it does not mean that that is the gun that fired the shot. I mean, he even went as far as making examples with other cases that he's done in the Marikana massacre, where they had to confiscate certain guns, but it did not mean that all of those guns fired the fatal shots. What do you say about that?
Well, you know what? Tim State, Nyantandas. But let me tell you why I'm saying that. It's because I've listened to evidence from police officers, one of which is General Mkhwanazi, who says the modus operandi says don't steal on the crime scene. It turns out that even Judge Ratamo Kgatleng is watching Madlanga Commission, which then proves that there is actually the thing of tampering with evidence and planting evidence is real in South Africa. And this is me trying to say to you, I've questioned this thing to say, kwafika amanye amaphoyisa lapha, boom, kwavela projectile next to 2 glass of jars, look, yeah, something like that. But I'm trying to say, people in the house saw a gun with a will. Suddenly, people arrive with a different thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying anything.
But there's no evidence, Bongani, at the current moment that suggests that anything was planted. I'd recall that accused number 4, as lawyer said, that somebody planted it. Somebody, but it's not clear who could have planted it.
It's going to become clear.
Where?
At what point?
Give me up until 5.
Okay. Good.
You know who's going to testify there?
No.
Okay. Give me up until 5.
Accuser number 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's come to you, Mabelani. The issue of the linkages, right? The linkages between Kelly Khumalo and Mthobisi Mncube, that see-through plastic bag that is found on Longwe Twala's phone, Kelly Khumalo's phone, Mthobisi Mncube's phone. He says it's a picture he got on social media. It raises a question that if it is to be said that Kelly Khumalo is linked with him, then why is Longwe Twala not a person of interest?
In fact, you can infer, Linda, that the reason the state didn't call Longwe Twala, they believe that he is a potential suspect that they must answer at a certain point in time together with Kelly Khumalo and Gladness. Because Longwe Twala pointed the wrong person as equally to Gladness Khumalo. So if you only consider or limit your analysis only on the picture itself, you're going to be lost. That common picture is found in Kelly Khumalo's phone, Longwe Twala's phone, and Mthobisi Mncube's phone. On its own, it means nothing. But then take it further. Look at the description of Mncube on what he was wearing, the dreadlocks, the big eyes. Then it puts some weight into it to say, but then, is this a coincidence? The firearm that was found in his position a month after, or 2 months after Senzo died, he takes ownership of that firearm, just like Itu said, to say, court, I'm begging you, this is my firearm, I've already served the 5-year sentence. Don't sentence me.
You can't convict me twice on the same firearm.
Yes, this is my firearm. That firearm connects him to what? To the projectile that was taken in 2014. Now, the version that Bongani trying to resuscitate, it has been abandoned. Initially, Khumalo said that projectile was planted by police. Now, what does the logic say here? Does logic say in 2014, the police fired that bullet from Mncube's gun, planted it in 2014, knowing that in 2020 they will arrest him with that firearm and he will be the same person who, with the same descriptions that was said by the people inside the house? It cannot be. Because if you say it was planted, this is Khumalo's version. Khumalo says it was planted. That's why it has to match to Mncube's firearm. The reason I'm saying that version is abandoned is because they went and got a ballistic expert who came and said, no, in fact, that version to say this projectile was planted because it's fired from this firearm is not true, because the expert, their defense expert says it doesn't match. So which means it couldn't have been fired from this firearm. So they've got versions that cannot coexist. And Itu is still having an expectation that Dave is coming. I told you, Dave is not coming. So that evidence will just remain as a version. So it cannot be, you must choose whether it was planted or it was never planted. And if it was planted, how did the police know in 2014 that Mncube will have this firearm in 2015? It can't be.
Let me go to Sibongiseni Kunene. Sibongiseni, I mean, you're hearing the conversations that we're having. We're having conversations about the firearm, the projectile, whether or not it was planted, and whether there has been enough evidence that has been brought to court to suggest that indeed that projectile was planted. But also the questions that arise from that particular linkage with Kelly Khumalo, a see-through plastic bag. I know the viewers at home are not able to see it because it's beamed in court, but it's basically a see-through plastic bag with cash notes that is placed on a carpet. And Gininda saying that that particular picture was found in Kelly Khumalo's phone, Mncube's phone, as well as Longwe Twala. According to Mncube, it's a picture that he found on social media. It's saved as Igugulo Mhlaba. And of course, this is a fabricated link. Do you think that the explanations that are being given around these critical elements are enough?
Well, Linda, I will just be straightforward in that one of linkages between accused number 3 and Kelly Khumalo based on that evidence. Accused number 3 is going to stand tall on that one because the police had ample time and an opportunity when they explore services of the downloaders being the expert to establish as to whether this picture was downloaded or it was created, and then how then did it arrive to all these participants being Kelly Khumalo, Longwe, and Mncube. So there is no clear picture as to whether who sent it and if it was ever sent to anyone, or whether then Mncube took the picture. Then I think just to be precisely, there is absolutely no linkage that can be created by that picture. But being that said, even Mncube, when then now he alleges that the picture was downloaded from a social media, being that of Facebook, unfortunately, at the time when Gininda was there, he never put that version to Gininda or Stein or Mabasa so that they can comment as to whether the said picture was indeed downloaded or not. So it was necessary for him to do that because it simply means that he had knowledge by then. So by not putting it to them, then there is a problem there. But insofar as linkages is concerned, there's absolutely no linkages that can be created by that picture.
Would you say there are no linkages based on that single picture, or when you look at the evidence holistically, would you say there is absolutely no linkage between Mncube and Kelly Khumalo?
Well, when you look at evidence holistically, then
together with that particular picture.
Together with that particular picture, then it's that particular picture, maybe let me just explain it this way. It is very crucial and important for collaboration in the evidence of the confession. That will be evidence in lieu for the purposes of the confession, but not for the purposes of linkages with Kelly Khumalo.
All right, let's take a quick ad break. When we come back, we wrap it up and, of course, get your final words from my guests in studio. Welcome back. Let's shift gears now and take a look at the Matlala matter, where the state has called another police witness to challenge accused number one Musa Kekana's version of events surrounding his arrest. Now, Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Tsoteti joined Tactical Response Team Commander Captain Mthobisi Mncube in rejecting allegations that Kekana was tortured after his arrest in connection with the 2024 assassination of Vereniging engineer Amon Swart. Now, the Johannesburg High Court is hearing a trial within a trial to determine whether evidence obtained during Kekana's arrest is admissible in the attempted murder case against alleged mastermind Vusimusi Cat Matlala and his co-accused. Let me bring in my guest, Sibongiseni Gunene, on this particular aspect. Sibongiseni, it seems we're still going in circles around this issue of the assault. Another police officer saying, well, I did not witness the assault.
Well, the police might have said that he did not witness the assault, and we know as common cause that the police cannot say that indeed he assaulted. But then it is the evidence of the state at the moment, and in which we are still going to wait for the evidence of the said accused, say when then is their time to come and testify and to demonstrate exactly as to how they were tortured and how they were assaulted. So if then they do not bring any evidence that indicate indeed that there was an assault, we know that when assault is involved, amongst other things, we are going to have that J88, or we are going to have some whatever, then medical reports, then so this person says he was taken to hospital. And then when they come and testify, they also collaborate their allegation insofar as assault and as to how they were assaulted, as well as the injuries which they sustain and how whatever significance they are, and based on the doctor's report as well as the J88. But at the moment, well, this evidence, it will remain as it is, because we haven't seen any evidence in rebuttal other than the cross-examination that is going to maybe to solicit whatever if there is any discrepancy in the evidence of the said police.
Yeah. How important will it be for the state to bring a doctor who would have seen Musa Kekana that day, given the fact that there is somewhat of a report that he reported, in fact, that he was assaulted, but perhaps to get a greater understanding of what exactly he was treated for?
Exactly. I think that will be very crucial for the state to bring the doctor, because by the look of things, the gentleman was indeed taken to the hospital.
Yeah.
But for whatsoever reason, then the doctor will be the one that is going to explain that. If then there's any injuries which were sustained by the gentleman, were they fresh, and if they were fresh, then were they injuries that could be inflicted by whatever human being, whatever then maybe because of the arrest, then that will be very crucial. So as the state, they can clear themselves from the so alleged assault which is being alleged by the defense.
All right, let's shift gears now. I want us to take a look at Julius Mkhwanazi. He made his fourth court appearance. It's a first court appearance. And here, there was seemingly an attempt to apply for bail, but they want further particulars before they can go ahead. They're also challenging the schedule, saying that, well, it's not a Schedule 6, given the fact that he was only called at a later stage to come through and assist with Emmanuel Mbenza, who at the time appeared to have been motionless.
Well, if the charge of Julius is that of an accessory after the fact, well, we know accessory after the fact, it does not have a standing alone type of a schedule that is falling under Schedule 6 or Schedule 5. Or whatever, or Schedule 1. So, well, the state, when they bring or prefer charges, they will come to court in the reception court with a certificate from the DPP, which then will be dictating that, well, this is a Schedule 5 or is a Schedule 6 offense. They are correct, the defense, to say, no, what, let us object from this schedule. And the state has to convince us as to whether indeed, how do they arrive to structuring these charges being that of a Schedule 6. And sufficing that these guys, they say that now they want further particulars. We know generally in terms of Section 60, subsection 14, the Criminal Procedure Act, you are not entitled to the content or to see whatever that's in the docket insofar as the investigation or documentation at the stage of bail application. But such a section, well, it cannot just be used as if it's an absolute section, because there is a discretion which then the state can then allows you to have these further particulars for you so that you can prepare for bail application. And this is only supported in a case wherein the bail application will be applied under Schedule 6 or Schedule 5, because there we know that the onus is on you to show that indeed it is in the interest of justice that exceptional circumstances does exist for you to be released on bail. So then maybe in this case, the defense, they don't see as whether the charge is clearer based on the facts surrounding the said matter. We know that is an accessory after the fact concerning matter. So the state might have been basing that on the basis that, well, the offense which was committed by Mkhwanazi is that of matter. So by virtue of that, and then he participated being of an accessory in matter. So then it can then be interlinked with that of a Schedule 6, because accessory alone, you cannot say that it have a standalone in terms of the schedule or Schedule 5 or Schedule 6 or Schedule 1 when you are applying for bail. So, well, they can bring this application for further particulars, or the presiding officer can also come into the picture by saying that the charge is not clear for this person to apply for bail. So then allowing them to have an access to the further particulars so that they can bring their application for bail.
All right. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you very much, Sibongiseni Gunene, for a breakdown of those court cases that are in our country's busiest courts. So we've been wrapping up Julius Mkhwanazi, Cat Matlala, and overall Senzo Meyiwa. And of course, I want to thank my guests in studio, Mabelani, Itumugwena, as well as Bongani Masuku, who've been with me throughout the hour. Let's check in with your poll results on the question that we asked you today about whether or not accused number 3's alibi is strong enough. 74% of you saying the gun throws it out. And that's where we leave it at. Until next week, bye-bye.